Hey guys, LevelCap here, and this week in gaming, CD Projekt Red have found themselves in unprecedented territory with Cyberpunk 2077, Warzone's worst exploit yet has been fixed, Devotion's re-release hit a major roadblock, and much more. In an unprecedented move, Sony removed Cyberpunk 2077 from the PlayStation Store. The move follows an onslaught of players demanding refunds that the developers promised would be honored. Cyberpunk players, especially on last-gen consoles, have been reporting all manner of technical issues and bugs. While the game seems relatively stable on next-gen consoles and PC, the last-gen ports are a mess. They run below 30 FPS at barely 720p in many scenes, and thanks to their slower storage systems, textures and models take ages to load. On top of these issues, the game also suffers from a litany of bugs, many of which are either immersion ruining or game breaking. Sony pulled the plug and is now offering full refunds to digital owners of the game. As for the other platforms, Microsoft released a statement via the Xbox social media outlets, citing the pandemic as a factor in CD Projekt Red's failure to deliver a polished product. While they aren't removing the game from the Xbox Store, they will be offering digital customers a full refund as well. CD Projekt Red have taken the refunds to the next level and are now offering refunds to physical copies of the game if retailers won't oblige your request. And while this all sounds extremely bad, well, believe it or not, it actually gets worse. CD Projekt Red's employees were reportedly outraged during a meeting with the company's leadership. Employees questioned CD Projekt Red's management about unrealistic deadlines, crunch, the company's reputation, and more. The response they got was very vague. One key point of criticism was CD Projekt Red saying the game was complete in January despite not being the case. All things considered, it seems like the pandemic, in combination with unrealistic goals and poor management, have created a disaster for the company. Pandemic aside, CD Projekt Red are no stranger to these issues. The Witcher 3 was a bit of a mess at launch, and many accused the studio of crunching their employees to an extreme degree. Hopefully, the company can once again remedy their launch issues. Call of Duty Warzone players were subjected to arguably the Battle Royale's worst exploit this week thanks to the new attack helicopters added to the game with Cold War Season 1. A reproducible glitch involving the helicopters allowed players to go invisible and become immune to damage for the most part. Thankfully, the helicopters were removed once the exploit was widespread enough to start getting enough media attention. Equally disastrous exploits were allowed to linger for several days in the past, and many players were worried the devs would not act quickly with this one. On the bright side, players that had all their existing XP tokens removed with the Season 1 update have now had them returned with a new update that also implements some much needed balance improvements. Cold War Season 1 added all of Cold War's weapons to Warzone, but they weren't even close to being competitive with Warzone's existing roster of guns for a variety of reasons. A new update has since made some of the Cold War weapon attachments equivalent to modern warfares. As for Cold War itself, multiplayer is currently free to play until the 24th. Issues preventing players from loading the new maps added in Season 1's update were resolved about 12 hours after launch. While these issues and lack of significant balance improvements have been a letdown for some players, it's still a massive update with tons of new content to dive into. Taiwanese horror game Devotion hit yet another setback this week. The game was review bombed shortly after launch last year because the developers accidentally left placeholder art in the game that made fun of the Chinese government. They pulled the game from sale soon after, and it's been unavailable since. Things look like they had finally been resolved when GOG.com announced that they'd be offering the game. But just a few hours after making that announcement, they released a statement saying they wouldn't be offering the game after all. They cited communication from gamers, quote unquote, as the reason for the about face. Realistically, it seems like no retailer will touch the game. The game's publishers had their business license renounced by the Chinese government after the devs pulled the game. Many fans of the game allege the whole situation is yet another case of China censoring the media. Retailers like Steam and GOG are probably afraid of retaliation either by the Chinese government, bots spamming them with bad reviews, or the controversy surrounding the game itself. It's unfortunate that such a well-reviewed game is getting this kind of treatment over an accidental meme. The developers say they're committed to finding a way to sell the game. Twitch drummed up their own controversy by announcing new terms of service updates during a town hall event. Under the new terms of service, the term simp incel, and virgin will get a user banned if they're used to harass or defame someone. On one hand, it makes sense that using demeaning language to hurt others would be a bannable offense, but on the other hand, Twitch have done an awful job enforcing these terms of service consistently. Many streamers are worried that on top of the DMCA claims, they now run the risk of being banned for using such innocuous language. Twitch will likely implement the new terms of service early next year. Microsoft Flight Sim hit 2 million players since launching in August. The crazy thing is, the game only had 1 million players as of September, so quite literally it's doubled its player base in 3 months. That's a pretty insane feat, as most games get the bulk of their sales in the first month of launch. Next week is going to be a big one for the Flight Sim. On Tuesday, it's getting a winter-themed update that adds real-time snow effects, and the update adds VR support for the game, which is probably going to make it the ultimate VR flying experience. Nvidia may have finally found a way out of the supply nightmare they've been dealing with this year. They just signed a new $90 million deal with Samsung to produce something for them. Samsung actually produced the initial wave of Nvidia's latest GPU hardware, but rumors were buzzing that Nvidia wanted to switch to TSMC at some point. The new deal is a good indication that Samsung is catching up with manufacturing demands, as Nvidia wouldn't just pour money into a company that couldn't deliver product. Of course, the deal could also be for something separate from the RTX 30 cards, like mobile processors. Back 4 Blood, aka Left 4 Dead 3, is now available as a closed alpha, and the initial reviews are very promising. By most accounts, it's a fresh take on Left 4 Dead's iconic gameplay and design. While they're distinctly different games, much of the gameplay, like fighting your way through hordes of zombies to get to safe rooms, is a key aspect of Back 4 Blood. Where the game differs is Back 4 Blood's card system. Players build the deck as they play, giving them different abilities like more damage, collecting more resources from kills, etc. Those resources are called copper, and they let you buy new items and gear at the safe rooms. In general, considering Back 4 Blood is being developed by the studio that created Left 4 Dead, it's safe to say the game is in good hands. The big concern is how they'll monetize it. The dev's previous game, Evolve, was eviscerated for its slow grind and microtransactions, and that's despite having solid gameplay that was generally well reviewed. Evolve was briefly made free to play before the devs scrapped post-launch support and shut the game's servers down. Hopefully they don't make the same mistake with Back 4 Blood. In our final story this week, Riot Games confirmed a League of Legends MMO is in development. Riot made a big show of expanding their current lineup of games this year by announcing new projects, launching Valorant, and also working on additional media content set in the League universe. Apparently, the League MMO is very early in development, so there's no information to go on. Riot's expansion has been going pretty well for them. Valorant has a healthy player base and is slowly getting an esports scene of its own. Runeterra, their auto battler, was also well received, and obviously anything launched with the League of Legends name on it certainly stands a good chance of succeeding as well. And that wraps it up for this week in gaming. Let me know what your week in gaming was like in the comments down below. What have you been playing? What have you been most surprised by story-wise? And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more content like this in the future, and I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap signing off.